What doesn't get blocked doesn't get done. Hola, I'm Jay Franco, and in this week's Innovative Insight, I show you how calendar blocking helps you get everything you want to get done finally done. Hola, mi gente, welcome back, you guys. And if you're ready to get super productive this year, this is all for you. I teach you about calendar blocking in this video, but let's first get started with what is calendar blocking. What doesn't get blocked doesn't get done. And for me, it is so real when it comes to calendar blocking. So calendar blocking is a way to take process and task and list all the to-do things that we need to do, schedule them in, and really get them at a set time. Create set times so that you're most productive in your day. If you want to work out every single day and you just wake up and decide to say, I'm gonna work out today, but you haven't really put the time stamp on it, then that time can come and go, and then the end of your day is here and you didn't make time for that particular task. So it's really important to calendar block because it really helps you to see what the next task is, what the task before is. It helps you to prepare yourself every single day. It also helps to control anxiety. So when things don't go our way or things are running a little late, we already know that we can kind of redesign our day or accommodate the next task to start at a later time. But if you don't know what's coming in your day, you haven't prepared for it. Calendar blocking also allows you to create certain times where they overlap, where let's say I need to get my taxes done, so I need to start sorting my taxes, but beforehand I want to make sure that I take a power walk, because that helps to clear out my head so that when I can come back into the house, then I get that started. Or if I'm traveling to an appointment to go meet a client, I book the time for the client. Let's say it's from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. and it's an hour of dedicated time with that client, but I usually do like maybe 30 minutes or 15 minutes beforehand, and I block it off as travel time to get coffee, or whatever it is that I need to do to just kind of get myself together before I meet this client. Because the last thing you want to do is run right at 9 o'clock. You're walking in, it's 9:01, and your client's there already waiting, and you haven't gotten your thoughts together, and you haven't gotten yourself together, and you're running all over the place, and with like a chicken with your head cut off. And that is not the way to start off this year. So what do? You start allowing yourself time for reflection, for travel, for getting yourself together, for getting yourself ready for work. And that's something that I do on a daily basis. Even my coffee and Jesus time, I schedule that in. I schedule everything in. I remember last year when I did a video or I did something, and one of my best friends called me out and it's like, wow, you even schedule the time. It says feed the dogs, feed your husband. Well, that day my husband had asked me to feed the dogs because he was going to be home late from work. So I literally had to write in feed the dogs. Why? Because otherwise my puppies won't get fed. It's not something that I do all the time. I hardly ever do it. It's his responsibility. So for me, it was different. Like if I'm still tasking or if I'm on a call with a client, I need to remember that, oh wow, I have babies that need to get fed. Or I scheduled myself the time to get off the call to go and do that responsibility. So calendar blocking is so wonderful. And here's two concepts regarding calendar blocking. Let's talk about the Zeigarnik effect. The Zeigarnik effect states that people remember uncompleted or uninterrupted tasks better than completed tasks. So if you have something scheduled, and that means that if I'm trying to learn Photoshop, for example, I'm going to set up a time of doing 20 minutes of Photoshop, or listening to a YouTube video tutorial that I'm going to follow through for 20 minutes so I can learn how to do Photoshop. And that uninterrupted time is going to help me remember how to do or work through the program much better, much more efficient, and much faster than if I try to do a little bit now and then I go and I come back and I keep trying to do it. If it's scheduled completely without being uninterrupted, I'm more able to remember it longer. There's also the Parkinson's Law. Parkinson's Law talks about work expanding to fill the time available for its completion. It means that if you give yourself a week to complete a 2-hour task, then psychologically speaking, the task will increase in complexity and become much more daunting, so as it to fill the week. This is something that I had to stop doing, and the reason why I started calendar blocking. And one of the reasons why is because year after year after year, before I started calendar blocking, it would come to January and say, I'm going to do my taxes. And I have a tub where I sort through and really, itemize each tax, and I put it in each of the folders. And then when I take the folder, then I total up all my receipts, and then I get my printout, and then I type everything in, and I do all my totals, and I finally send the photocopy over to my accountant, get them all ready, and finally get my taxes done. Well, I thought I was gonna get it done in January. Lo and behold, it was the week before taxes were due, and they were due April 16th, the year before last, and I hadn't done my taxes yet. It was literally a few days before the tax deadline. Well, what happens is that during this crucial last week before taxes are due, everybody and their mother decide to turn in their taxes also, not just me. So which means that my CPA is consistently bombarded with all of us who didn't get it done, who are not trying to get it in, and so she now has to schedule and file for an extension. Well, this year I actually plugged in an allocated amount of time, and this year it seems like I can achieve smaller steps and smaller tasks that I need to do to get my taxes done on time. Where last year I kept thinking, I have to sort them out. And then after I sort them, I have to go through every single folder and write out all the expenses and total all the expenses for every single folder, for every single, deduction that I'm taking. I mean, it was just so daunting. It just felt like taxes are so overwhelming, where this year, like, wow, that was super easy. It took me like 15 minutes to sort through all of this and get this done. So I can't wait to go to the next task. And I also broke them down in small little tasks throughout the week and throughout the next couple of weeks, so that I don't feel completely overwhelmed by doing my taxes this year and getting them all. That is what Parkinson's Law is. And this is the reason why calendar blocking is so important. All right, so how do I calendar block? I know that a lot of times that you've seen online where you can calendar block on Google, and I do calendar block on Google. And the reason why I do it there is mostly just to block out certain times from my Google Calendar, because it's linked to my Bookify. It's linked to my marketing agency's calendar. So because they're linked together, if I happen to not book a specific time and someone goes to my website and they book an appointment with me, well, guess what happens? I get stuck having to do that appointment instead of doing the task that I calendar blocked. So it's so important for me to do that on Google. So I'm not going to show you what I do on Google, because on Google it's just literally chunks where I just block out and I just gray them out. And it just looks like a whole bunch of gray chunks everywhere. It's not like the really pretty calendar blocks on Google, the YouTube videos that you've seen where it's all color coded and everything is, from one thing to the next. It doesn't do that. What I personally do is I put it in my bullet journal. In my bullet journal, I start at 5 in the morning and I end my day at 10 o'clock at night. And although you can do that on Google, I found that regular agendas and regular calendars didn't give you the ability to do a 5 to 10 work day. And I decided to create my own with a bullet journal. And this one is the Leuchtturm 1917. And I love this one specifically because it's already numbered at the bottom. Some of the Leuchtturms don't have the page numbers on the bottom. So I'm easy to write out a table of content in the beginning. And so the first thing I do is I take at a future log. My future log is all about important things that I need to remember for the entire year. I need to constantly keep in mind that in May, I'm going to BYOB Live with Andrew Wynn, and I'm going to not learn how to brand my own brand, but definitely level up in branding and learn much more about personal branding. And that's really the key where I'm trying to get into. Then I continue with my monthly at a glance view, and the monthly at a glance view helps me to just kind of visually see exactly where I'll be at certain days, remember events that are very important for the month overview. When you get into, I also write down my goals, anything that I want to accomplish this month, and I convert these goals into actual tasks for the week. So I love the fact that I do that. And then like over here, I have sort receipt for taxes. And if you look in here, I have a time designated where I did my taxes or I sorted receipts. I go through even my Sundays down packed. I used to wake up in the morning, roll out of bed, get dressed, brush my teeth, and just tell my husband, okay, let's go. And it was always like, okay, let's go. And then we come back and I wouldn't do anything else the rest of the Sunday, but I started getting very specific with what I do on Sundays. On Sundays, I started my routine really, really, really tight this year. I get up and I go to church. We come back and we have breakfast together while we listen to Pastor Stephen Furtick in Elevation Church. And then the second thing we do after we're completely done, we do our dishes, we put them up, and then we start cleaning our house together. So he sweeps and mops the first half of the house, and I sweep and mop the back half of the house. And I've literally booked here breakfast, cooking, cleaning house. This particular week I KonMari'd the drawers. I actually KonMari'd all of these drawers 2 weeks ago or a few weeks ago. And then I KonMari'd, I cleaned up my makeup drawers. And then I spent time, I actually made time to spend time with my sister-in-law as well as my niece. And this was fantastic because it was her birthday weekend. So I really wanted to make sure that I had time with her. Right afterwards, I went to Whole Foods and Trader Joe's to get our groceries for the week. And then at 8 o'clock at night, I did my 2019 budget and debt-free plan for the year. And as you notice, and in my other videos, I talked to you about my vision board, and I talked to you about how I created a debt-free plan for the year. There it is. It's not for you guys' eyes, but it's definitely for my consistent eyes so that I can stay on task. And that's the reason why I calendar block everything. What doesn't get calendar blocked will not get done. And I will tell you this because last year, the first half of the year, I was on it. I was on fire. Everything was getting done. I was so productive. So what happened was that towards the middle of the year, I stopped creating the monthly planners. So I have to purposely myself create this. So I create the pages myself, and then I have to create blank weekly pages every single week. So remember Parkinson's law? Even though it took me just a few minutes to get all of this done, last year it felt like it was just gonna take up all of my time just to finish up the back half of the year and create all the at a glance for the month and weekly calendars for the rest of the year. So, with that being said, the rest of the year didn't go quite so well. So I encourage you to make time specifically to create, either take an agenda or use a bullet journal and really map out your calendar for the rest of the month. If you prefer to do it online, I suggest you highly do it online. This takes a little bit of work and a little bit of practice, and there's a little bit more investment into it. But I also feel that if you write it, you visually internalize it and you also remember it. Remember what I was talking about? We were talking about Zeigarnik effect, that if you really spend time on the task, you're more likely to remember it. That's the reason why I write it down in my bullet journal and in my task this way, because as I fill the following weeks, I'm more likely to remember every single task that I need to do, or am aware that that's coming up, that particular event is coming up because I wrote it down. I spent time to plan out my entire week. Therefore, I had uninterrupted time where I understood what I was doing. All right, so tips for calendar blocking. Make sure that what's important now is scheduled immediately. Make sure that you spend your energy timing your tasks. So when you are most productive, I'm way more productive in the morning or the first part of the day. So I tend to plan the most energy consuming, energy zapping tasks earlier in the day. And I try not to blog at night because my mind is just tired by the end of the day and I'm not giving it everything. I prefer to video in the evenings. I feel like I've been more productive. I've also gone through an entire day where I've had maybe something impact me throughout the day that I can use in my videos. So that's one of the reasons why I choose to do my videos in the evenings, and then I edit them and upload them for you. And I like to edit videos in the evening, where I like to blog and write early morning when things are fresh on my mind, when my mind is it has the most energy to focus on these particular tasks. All right, so single task versus multiple. Make sure that when you're writing something down in your calendar and your calendar blocking, that you're writing a single task. And the reason why is because if you write out that you're doing several tasks within that little hour or within that block, you're more likely to not do it, or more likely to do only one task versus all the tasks that you had written down. So clearly block out, if it's 15 minutes to write a note, 15 minutes to email back your client, and 15 minutes to whatever it is, even down to like a 5-minute increment if you need to. Because if you bunch it all together within that hour and you just say, I need to email client, I need to make a task list, and I need to finish the outline for whatever it is that you need to do, it's just too much at one time. Focus on single tasks and you'll be able to really be the most productive. So time block on the weekend and for the week ahead. That's one thing that I do every Sunday, and in my bullet journal on Sunday evenings, I have it in there around 7 o'clock at night. When I'm done with my day, I have blocked out time to Bujo, my calendar block. So I put Cal block Bujo. It literally means I'm gonna calendar block in my bullet journal, and I'm gonna also review my week ahead. So it's very fresh in my mind and I know exactly what I'm doing, and I'm setting myself up for success every single week. So I leave you with this really great quote to wrap up this video. It says, time blocking is one of the best ways for turning good intentions into action. And this quote is by Paul Miners. So let me know if you calendar block. I'd love to know. Tell me in the comments if you've been calendar blocking and how long have you been calendar blocking for, because for me, it's been about 2 years now, and I've been the most productive these last 2 years, with the exception of the last quarter of 2018. But if you have not been calendar blocking, let me know what you do to set yourself up for success, to really get all of your tasks in your day, as well as let me know how efficient and productive you've been with other methods. I'm always looking to find other methods to be the most productive. And if you're thinking about calendar blocking and you haven't started yet, comment below and let me know if this is definitely helping you to get you started on calendar blocking. As always, mi gente, like and subscribe to my weekly Innovative Insight, where I bring you tips and hacks on how to really go after that life, that entrepreneurial journey. Como siempre, aquí estoy para servirles. Nos vemos la próxima semana.